Tonight on CTV News, was arson behind the fire that gutted a school classroom? Police identify those who may hold answers to the Alpine fire. And two State of the Nation speeches fight for the political stage.
Broadcasting across Canterbury, from the CTV studio, this is First at 5.
Good evening. Christchurch schools are rallying together after a suspicious fire ripped through a classroom last night. Fire crews were called to the blaze at Shirley Intermediate around 9:30 to find the classroom well involved in flames. The building suffered extensive damage and fire investigators remain at the scene. Emma Cropper has the latest details.
Sifting through the remains of the scorched classroom.
So I would assume that these would have been safe, but no, they got into them.
This charred mess is all that remains of the bilingual classroom at Shirley Intermediate that was engulfed by a major blaze overnight.
There's been extensive damage inside the room.
Vital classroom resources are ruined, including these 4 iMacs and data projector. Principal Jeff CRV says fire services are still investigating the cause of the blaze.
The latest I've heard from the inspector is that there was it's possibly an electrical fault, but they're still examining whether there was some other cause because it's still uncertain around final verdict, as it were. Yeah.
Hope it hasn't been answered or anything along those lines.
We certainly hope so. So they are investigating that. The police have been talking to a couple of people who are around the area at the time.
Residents across the road were quick to act, alerting fire services after seeing flames gushing from the building.
And we're really grateful that both those people rang the police and rang the emergency services.
It's the second blow for the bilingual unit at the school following the February 2011 earthquake. Their second classroom was demolished after being deemed structurally unsafe. When the new school year kicks off on Monday, the Years 7 and 8 students will be settling into a temporary classroom.
So they're without their classroom, and it's a big loss, but fortunately we've got other rooms for them to go to.
But Principal CRV says the blaze won't dampen the spirit of the students.
It's good that the culture of a classroom and the quality of a classroom isn't totally dependent on the room. So those kids will still have half the children who are coming in this year were there last year. So the magic that was in their room and their teacher, all of that is still there, so it's not totally dependent on the building. He's
hopeful something even better can now be built from the ashes.
The future of the room is, it comes down, my understanding is it will be refitted and brought back to up to standard, probably better than before.
The school's community will rally together to help salvage as much of the classroom's resources before school goes back next Monday. Emma Cropper, CTV News.
Two cyclists who rode through Arthur's Pass just before a large scrub fire erupted have been identified by police. It's thought the pair may hold the key to how it started.
The major blaze tore through more than 300 hectares of forest in just 35 minutes. It was brought under control last night after 6 helicopters with monsoon buckets and 3 water bomber planes doused the perimeter in a bid to stop the fire from rapidly spreading onto steep terrain. 50 people from 4 rural firefighting crews helped with the aerial attacks. Troops from as far as Whangarei were brought in today to help the ground crews. Starting at 2:30 in the afternoon on Monday, the blaze caused concern as it was a major threat to native species, ski fields and lodges around Flock Hill Station. Police have been hunting for information about 2 cyclists caught on dashcam near the fire. They've both since come forward after initially witnessing the start of the blaze. The pair raced to the top of the mountain for cell phone signal to call emergency services. The fire is not being deemed a criminal matter.
Well, today the Prime Minister and the Labour leader both fought for the media spotlight, making their State of the Nation addresses. Marcus Gibbs analyses their promises.
It's the time of year when the Prime Minister and the Labour leader both unveil their latest State of the Nation speeches. This is when they share their thoughts on how the country's tracking. So what have the two parties got for us this year? Since Labour has been in opposition, themes of inequality have been common, while the Prime Minister has often announced new policy in his speeches, policy that eventually becomes reality. This morning, Labour leader Andrew Little unveiled his first State of the Nation speech since being elected Labour leader last November. He spoke at length about inequality. He plans to address this problem, and it's one of his main priorities as leader. He stated figures showing that since 2008, when National was elected to government, there are now 20,000 extra people living in poverty. He wants to rebrand Labour as the Jobs Party, to broaden the scope of the party's target audience to include small business owners. This makes sense, as small businesses are growing in popularity and contribute 30% of the country's economy. Businesses with less than 20 employees are also leading the way when it comes to creating new jobs. Mr Little promised the super fund would invest in start-up firms, promising that New Zealand would once again have the lowest unemployment rate in the developed world. Meanwhile, Prime Minister John Key outlined his own policies that could see up to 8,000 Housing New Zealand homes sold off, but he's promising that the homes will be sold to community housing providers. Housing New Zealand will remain the country's largest landlord. However, the government plans to review 5,000 tenants over the next 2 years to see whether they can move out of state housing. The government's main priorities this year include supporting the Christchurch rebuild, as well as managing the government's books and building a productive and competitive economy.
Name suppression will continue for two men who assaulted cricketer Jesse Ryder outside a Christchurch bar 2 years ago. One of the men is a 39-year-old builder, and this morning he entered a surprise guilty plea to an amended charge of assault with intent to injure. Now, he was due to stand trial in March. NZME reporter Kurt Bayer says the matter was brought forward by Justice O'Driscoll after learning the accused was going to enter a guilty plea. He says the judge called for a pre-sentence report and also suggested that the man be assessed for a restorative justice meeting with Jesse Ryder. The man's nephew pleaded guilty last year. They will be both sentenced in May. Well, to other news now, another contractor has been fined for breaching employment law, this time by paying two workers less than the minimum wage.
Christchurch building firm Verney Construction has been ordered to pay penalties of less than $3,000 for breaching employment rights of two workers who were paid less than minimum wage for 2 months of work. The Employment Relations Authority today found Verney had wrongly treated the employees as contractors, a trend the authority says is a growing problem across New Zealand. Verney also failed to pay the workers holiday pay and provide employment agreements, time, wage and holiday records, despite multiple requests being issued an improvement notice. Verney also failed to pay the workers holiday pay and provide employment agreements, time, wage and holiday records, despite multiple requests being issued an improvement notice. Verney has been ordered to pay the sums of around $300 and $600 respectively to the two workers and fines totalling nearly $2,100 to the government.
Well, still to come here on CTV News, development starts for an exciting Christchurch soccer academy.
敬请收看 CTV Freeview 40频道首档华语原创系列电视节目 Chinese in Canterbury. Join us in watching Chinese in Canterbury on CTV.
The world really is your oyster with Farm to Farm tours. Discover some of the world's best farming, scenery and cultural experiences. We work closely with trusted international colleagues in more than 30 countries to customise great trips for people just like you. For a hassle-free trip, call the friendly team at Farm to Farm Tours now or visit our website.
Avoid the monkeys when it comes to relocating. Trust A1 Movers, a family business since 1993 that guarantees a professional job every time. We carefully handle and wrap your valued items, ensuring they have a safe journey. Secure storage and insurance options are also available.
A1 Movers, the careful, caring moving company. Oi!
Opus is recreating the heart of Canterbury. From large-scale projects to commercial buildings. Your design, your vision. Opus.
Made to measure interiors, made with care, made for you.
Let's face it, everyone has an agenda. And guess what? So do I. Every week, I'll pick 3 stories that grab my attention.
Agenda with me, Brent Goff.
And welcome back to CTV News. Junior tennis champions are in town this week, all vying for better ranking points. And Gordon Finlater was at Wilding Park to see who's shaping up to be the best.
Over 100 of the top under-18 tennis players from New Zealand, Australia and further abroad gathered at Wilding Park this week for the annual ITF tournament. The tournament, which is now a mainstay in Canterbury, is a feature event on the local tennis calendar.
This would be our highest quality tournament that we have here to go alongside our regional tournaments and national events that we host, but this one is really the icing on the cake for us in terms of being able to showcase our best players and also attract some really good quality international players.
With ranking points awarded for progressing deep into the tournament, players featuring in today's round of 16 action were looking for a win and valuable extra points. With a win today and progressing to the quarter-finals, Wellington's second seed Kieran Paul Panu explained how valuable a player's under-18 ranking is going forward.
The next step's kind of college tennis, and they look at your rankings. So, I mean, if I can do well in these next 3 ITFs, get my ranking up, that'll help towards going to the States.
A college tennis scholarship has the advantages of exposing our top talents to regular competition while also offering an American college education. This step forward has become a popular choice for future prospects.
That's still the main path. We've had around about 18 players from Canterbury in the last 10 years, back to the likes of Charlotte Vallis and James Meredith and Jordan Kelly-Houston, just to name a few. But that's the main way that they're able to advance and see how far they can go in the sport. It's certainly tough, but generally that's the best way to be able to get into a real tennis market, as it were.
With players coming from as far as Europe and North America, the tournament also exposes Kiwi youngsters to different styles of play that come with international flavour.
The Australians are pretty typical in terms of the way that they play and the way that we play, but when the Asians have got a certain way that they play, you get some of the Europeans are more power-based, whereas the Japanese spend a lot of time on technique. So that's a real challenge for our players, and they really love it because it's different from what they play during the year, and it just is another thing to be able to put on their tennis resume.
Those making the long haul will hope to gain enough ranking points to qualify for bigger tournaments around Asia, Europe and North America.
Once you get a world ranking, which is making the last 16 of either the singles or the doubles, that guarantees you access to a lot more tournaments. So once you've got that world ranking, you can then go and plan your own programs. So for the Europeans to come over here, pick up a ranking, means that then they can have a look back in their homeland about how they can plan their next 3 or 6 months with some more targets under their belt. And that's the same for our players. If our players, the likes of Michael Matson, who was able to pick up ranking points, she's now going to be able to target events in New Caledonia and Fiji and Australia over the next 6 months so she can push on with her junior career.
The tournament continues throughout the week with finals day on Saturday. Local hopes lie with 16-year-old Michael Matson, who was competing in today's round of 16 girls action. After this week, many of the players will continue on to Wellington's junior ITF tournament, which starts next week. Gordon Finlater, CTV Sport.
Well, they say the Russians are coming. Well, actually, they're already here. One of the biggest sporting complex concepts has been given the green light, and the Christchurch Football Academy is now in the first stage of development. Here's Jared McCulloch with the details.
Construction is underway just west of Christchurch to develop a state-of-the-art football complex. A private investor is behind the project alongside the Christchurch Football Academy to construct 2 world-class football fields for the people of Christchurch.
We're embarking on constructing 2 full-size FIFA 2-star artificial football turfs. We're using a field turf surfacing on it. It's an elite playing surface, so it's quite unlike everything else that's currently in the country, but it's up there, it's world class.
Shane is heading stage 1 of construction, where these diggers have started only 3 weeks ago to move large amounts of soil to put down the new turf.
We've got a lot of topsoil to come out. We're going to be using the topsoil to create some big grass viewing bunds down around the turf, so that'll help with any wind if it gets up in Canterbury, and it'll look nice and keep it all surrounded. There's paths right around the outside of it. The surface itself is a 2-tone green, so it has that striped Moen look all the time with a nice dark blue, which is the Christchurch Football Academy colours around the outside of it.
There is another field surface in Wellington with a FIFA rating, but the turf going in here is slightly different.
This one here is going to have a cork top layer in it. The cork on the top layer is what keeps the surface temperature cooler than, say, a rubber surface. It's a very stable system, and the athletes have a higher level of safety on them, so it's great.
And the concept is huge, spanning 20 hectares of prime farmland off Yaldhurst Road. Plans are to build multiple other sports facilities, including netball, tennis, a gymnastics stadium and swimming complexes. But other investors will need to come to the party to bring this dream to a reality, with a total cost of $40 million.
It's a very big project. It's fantastic for the Canterbury region, really. They're very lucky.
Slava Main is the man behind the dream, investing millions to get the project off the ground, or in the ground in this case, and when this concept is built, he believes it will change the dynamics of football here.
I believe that it will help to develop football in Christchurch and South Island and in New Zealand.
There have been some delays though. The project was put on hold last year with the Academy seeking resource consent to build the complex. Now that the council has given the green light, it's full steam ahead. One of the Christchurch Football Academy directors believes the sport is taking off, and he's hoping international football events will get more Cantabrians interested.
FIFA Under 20 in 2015 in New Zealand, I guess there will be a lot of, it will be a peak of kids wanting to try football first time, and hopefully we and other clubs in general in Christchurch and in New Zealand, we can keep those numbers for longer, so we don't lose them to other sports.
Currently 100 children have signed up to the fast-growing sport, and they're hoping for more to join with under 6, 8 and 10 leagues. The 2 football turfs are expected to be completed before winter kicks in. Jared McCulloch, CTV News.
Well, part of ECAN's revamp to the Christchurch bus network includes more school routes, and with the term commencing next week, the buses are ready.
Thousands of students will be back at school from Monday, with the local bus service expecting to be flooded by eager students making their way to school. More than 41,000 Canterbury students travel to school on the bus each term. 3 extra school services are being introduced next week, taking students from the west of the city to Riccarton High School, St Thomas of Canterbury College, Villa Maria College, Kirkwood Intermediate School and Middleton Grange School. The changes are part of ECAN's major review of the city's bus systems. ECAN overhauled 3/4 of its network in December, developing it to meet the needs of the changing city. These special services are organised in consultation with the schools they serve and provide a scheduled and direct service for students travelling across the city to school.
Still to come here on CTV News, an interesting milestone for the EQC and your region's weather.
Sing along with one of the greatest British bands of all time, the Beatles. This hilarious, quirky cartoon first aired in the US in 1965, and now it's right here on CTV. So grab a ticket to ride and join us every Thursday at 2:30 p.m.
At Primary ITO, we want to help you lead your business into the future with confidence. The Diploma in Agribusiness Management allows you to learn the latest techniques, and you can apply your newly developed skills from the moment you start. With the option of workshops and online self-directed learning, training fits around your lifestyle. Key learning areas include human resource management, financial planning, budgeting and more. So contact us today to discuss your training needs.
Our new companion package is a personalised service for those that need extra help and support. A cost-effective solution for someone who needs more than just a taxi driver. Our drivers are handpicked from our experienced team and specialise in providing the right support and companionship. Home safe every time with Blue Star Taxis.
We all know the best thing you can do for your body is eat fresh foods in their natural state. The same applies to your skincare. Southern Skin provides a skincare range with fresh, locally sourced ingredients, plus natural preservatives and emulsifiers to produce the best nourishment for your skin to unleash your healthiest complexion. New Zealand olive and aloe skincare for young or old, men, women and children. There is a product in the Southern Skin range for you. southernskin.co.nz.
When it comes to the delicate subject of funeral services, Ashburton now has another option. Galbraith Funeral Services now offer you and your family their high standard of service and expertise in their offices in Havelock Street. Whether it's to chat about pre-booking a service to include all your ideas and thoughts for your own funeral, or that of another member of the family, or simply asking what's involved, call or pop in. Galbraith Funeral Service is an old firm with old-fashioned values, ensuring all the options are yours.
Make a date every Thursday night. The Owl and the Pussycats have returned. I'm the Owl and the women will be the panel. Make sure you get your letters and correspondence in and we'll answer your queries every Thursday, 8:30 here on CTV.
Welcome back to CTV News. Well, speed cameras have nabbed many Canterbury drivers over the last 5 years, and a recent police report on traffic offences shows numbers have doubled. Some of the worst places around the region include St Andrews near Timaru, Temuka, Twizel and Papanui, which had nearly 3 times the traffic offences issued to drivers. Some of the better areas, though, included Littleton and Sumner, where they dropped by nearly half. Senior Sergeant Phil Newton says the offences were up due to more staff, especially in the South Canterbury area. Overall, seatbelt and drink driving were down, whereas warrant of fitness and cell phone offences climbed. Well, Ashburton is hoping to turn the scene of last year's fatal shooting at its Winds office into something special and positive, in a bid to ease the pain for those still dealing with the shooting that rocked the community.
Community House Mid Canterbury wants to buy the Ashburton Work and Income building where the fatal shooting of 2 workers occurred last September. The charity hopes to buy the property for $1.1 million after consulting with victims' families and fielding huge support from the community to grow its services. The Community Trust of Mid and South Canterbury has already donated $250,000 to fund the buy, and the Ashburton District Council has donated $500,000. The charity says it hopes to have secured all the funding by mid-February. Renovations will be needed in addition and at a cost of $750,000, and it wouldn't be finished until late this year or early next year. Community House provides support services for the aged, newcomers to the town, people with health issues and disabilities, youth and those in need.
There may have been thousands of complaints against the EQC since that massive earthquake, but that hasn't stopped the Earthquake Recovery Minister, Jerry Brownlee, celebrating history when it comes to the Earthquake Commission.
7 decades of insuring New Zealand homes. Today marks the 70th anniversary of the Earthquake and War Commission. The controversial EQC has been making headlines in the past 4 years following the Canterbury earthquakes, so far settling more than 93% of its claims and paying out more than $8 billion. The Earthquake and War Commission was originally set up in January 1945. Minister Jerry Brownlee says the scheme has managed the largest and most complex insurance claims project in New Zealand's history and is the 4th largest in the world. About 90% of the New Zealand housing market is insured by EQC, compared to only 11% of insured homeowners in quake-prone California. Minister Brownlee says EQC has learned many hard-earned lessons in 70 years. He says its task now is to ensure this experience builds a stronger organisation for the future.
And to make contact with the CTV News team, you can always email the newsroom right now, in fact, news@ctv.co.nz, or check us out on demand at ctv.co.nz. Well, now it's time for your region's weather.
Good evening, Canterbury. Let's take a look at your weather. Timaru, your high today was 20. Temuka and Geraldine, a nice day for you with a high of 23. Ashburton and Methven, you are both sitting on 21 degrees. Rakai, similar picture for you, 21. Darfield, you were warmer on 21. As for Leeston and Rolleston, you shared a high of 20 degrees. Lincoln and Christchurch, 20 degrees for you. Taking a look at Akaroa now, you hit a high of 20 degrees today. Moving up the region, Kaiapoi, Rangiora and Amberley, you all reached a high of 20 degrees. Taking a look at Colverdon, Hamner Springs and Cheviot, you were slightly warmer today, sitting on 23 degrees. And to the top of the region, Kaikoura, your high was 21 today. Let's take a look at tomorrow's weather. Timaru, there will be low cloud for you and some sunny periods developing and mild northeasterly winds. Your low tonight is 15, tomorrow's high 21 degrees. Ashburn tomorrow, there's some low cloud at first, but sunny periods will develop throughout the day with a northeasterly breeze. Tonight's low 15, tomorrow's high 21. To Christchurch now, it'll be mild and humid for your Wednesday with northeasterlies and some low cloud expected. Your low tonight is 15 and the high tomorrow 21 degrees. And up to Kaikoura tomorrow, low cloud for you and some sunny periods developing with mild, humid northeasterlies. Tonight's low 15, tomorrow's high 21. And in the other areas around the region, Temuka and Geraldine, there'll be some cloud for you throughout the day with a warm 22 degrees. Methven and Rakaia, a cloudy day for you tomorrow, slightly warmer too on 21. Darfield, Leeston, Rolleston and Lincoln, there will be a lot of cloud around tomorrow with a high of 21 degrees. Over in Akaroa, expect a high of 21 tomorrow with cloud hanging around all day. Further north, Kaiapoi, Rangiora and Amberley, a cloudy day for you with a warm 21 degrees expected. Colverdon, Hamner Springs and Cheviot, there'll be little cloud for you tomorrow and taking the region's high of 23 degrees. Looking ahead for Canterbury, Friday and Saturday, skies will often be cloudy with areas of low cloud expected in the morning and night, which may bring some drizzly patches. Fine by day with low cloud breaking to reveal some high cloud and a few sunny periods, mostly during the afternoons. It'll be mild and humid with moderate northeasterly breezes. Taking a look at Sunday and Monday, there'll be a change to colder southwesterly winds and showers are due to set in from Monday night. As for Tuesday, the showers are expected to clear, but skies will remain mostly cloudy with cool southwesterlies dying out. And that is your weather for Wednesday.
Well, finally tonight, as you know, both major political parties gave their State of the Nation speeches today, didn't they? But what does it really mean for you and I at the end of the day? Well, join me tomorrow on News Talk ZB because News Talk ZB's political editor, Barry Soper, he's a straight shooter. He will tell you what it actually means. You have a great Wednesday night. That's our show.
Supporting local content so you can see more of New Zealand on air.